In this video, we will delve deep into the seismic shifts in America's climate policy under the Trump administration and examine how these changes signal the end of U.S. leadership in the fight against climate change. We'll explore the significant withdrawal from the Paris Climate Accord, the cuts in federal funding for renewable energy, and how prioritizing fossil fuels has undermined decades of progress. From weakening emissions standards to dismissing climate change altogether, join us as we uncover the repercussions of these decisions on the environment, clean energy jobs, and America's role in global climate leadership. 1. Withdrawal from the Paris Climate Accord. In a move that sent shockwaves around the globe, then-President Donald Trump announced the United States' withdrawal from the Paris Climate Accord. This decision marked a significant departure from the country's previous commitments to reducing carbon emissions. The Paris Climate Accord, an agreement signed by nearly every nation, aimed to combat climate change by limiting global temperature rise. By pulling out, the U.S. abandoned its role as a leader in this international effort. This decision not only affected global climate initiatives but also signaled to other countries that the U.S. was stepping back from its environmental responsibilities. The absence of the U.S. in the accord left a leadership vacuum, quickly filled by other nations eager to push forward with climate action. 2. Slashing federal funding for renewable energy. The Trump administration's approach to energy policy fundamentally shifted the priorities of federal funding. Renewable energy projects, which had previously received substantial support, found themselves facing significant budget cuts. This move put the U.S. at a disadvantage in the global market for clean energy technologies. While other countries were investing heavily in solar, wind, and other renewable sources, the U.S. seemed to be moving in the opposite direction. This reduction in funding not only slowed down potential progress in the renewable sector but also jeopardized the nation's competitiveness in the global clean energy race. As a result, opportunities for innovation and advancement in sustainable energy were missed. 3. Prioritization of fossil fuels. Under Trump's administration, fossil fuel industries, including oil, coal, and gas, were given precedence over sustainable alternatives. This prioritization was evident in the rollback of numerous emissions regulations that had been put in place to protect the environment. The focus shifted to increasing domestic energy production, often at the expense of environmental concerns. By favoring fossil fuels, the administration sent a message that sustainability was not a priority. This stance not only led to increased pollution levels but also set the country back in its quest for a more sustainable energy future. While the world was moving towards cleaner energy solutions, the U.S. seemed to be taking a step back. 4. Undermining climate research. The administration's funding cuts and censorship efforts had a detrimental impact on climate science research in the U.S. Scientists found themselves facing obstacles in conducting and publishing their work, which compromised the country's role as a leader in climate research. These actions undermined the credibility and influence that American scientists once held in the global arena. As a result, other nations began to take the lead in climate research, leveraging their newfound influence to shape global climate policies. The U.S.'s diminished role in this area not only left its scientists in a challenging position but also weakened its global standing as a leader in environmental innovation. 5. Weakening of emissions standards. The Trump administration's decision to weaken emissions standards for various industries had far-reaching implications. By rolling back regulations, industries were allowed to emit higher levels of pollution, contributing to environmental degradation. These relaxed standards were in stark contrast to the more stringent measures being adopted by other countries. The weakening of emissions standards not only increased pollution levels but also hindered progress toward cleaner air and reduced carbon emissions. This move was seen as a step backward in the fight against climate change, as it prioritized short-term economic gains over long-term environmental health. 6. Abandonment of global climate leadership. The U.S.'s absence from global climate summits under Trump's administration marked a significant shift in its role on the world stage. Traditionally, the U.S. had been a key player in shaping climate policies and driving international cooperation. However, with its reduced involvement, other nations began to take charge, leading climate initiatives and setting ambitious targets. This shift in leadership dynamics allowed countries like China and the European Union to fill the void left by the US. As a result, the global climate agenda moved forward without significant American input, altering the balance of power in international environmental negotiations. 7. Opening protected lands for exploration. The Trump administration's decision to open millions of acres of protected land for oil and gas exploration had significant environmental implications. These lands, once safeguarded for their ecological value, were now at risk of exploitation. The move was met with widespread criticism from environmentalists and indigenous communities who feared the irreversible impact on biodiversity and natural habitats. By prioritizing resource extraction over conservation, the administration's actions raised concerns about the long-term sustainability of these areas. This decision further underscored the administration's commitment to fossil fuels at the expense of environmental protection. 8. Federal versus state emissions targets. In a controversial move, the Trump administration attempted to prevent states like California from setting their own ambitious emissions targets. This effort to override state-level initiatives raised questions about federalism and the rights of states to pursue their environmental goals. California, known for its progressive climate policies, found itself at odds with the federal government. The administration's actions were seen as a hindrance to state-led innovation and progress in reducing emissions. This conflict highlighted the challenges faced by states trying to lead the way in climate action while dealing with federal opposition. 9. Impact on clean energy jobs. The defunding of initiatives supporting clean energy jobs had a tangible impact on the renewable energy sector. As federal support dwindled, many clean energy projects faced financial challenges, leading to job losses and stunted growth. This was a stark contrast to the global trend of increasing investment in renewable energy, which was creating jobs and driving economic growth. The reduction in support not only affected the livelihoods of workers in the renewable sector but also slowed the U.S.'s transition to a more sustainable energy economy. This decision further emphasized the administration's preference for traditional energy sources over clean alternatives. 10. Dismissal of climate change as a priority. Throughout Trump's presidency, climate change was consistently dismissed as a priority issue. This stance sent a clear message to the world that the U.S. was stepping away from its leadership role in addressing environmental challenges. The administration's lack of commitment to combating climate change stood in stark contrast to the efforts being made by other nations. As countries around the world ramped up their climate action plans, the U.S. seemed to be moving in the opposite direction. This shift in priorities had long-lasting implications for the country's global reputation and its ability to influence international climate policies.